look, if things are going poorly in your marriage or your relationship, sometimes you got to do some drastic things, get that thing straight, right? Well, there's one couple that's causing quite a debate right now because they went off-site for their marriage counseling with just the two of them.
Yeah, who knew that improving your marriage was going to be so controversial? But I came across this article from the San Francisco Standard, and it's about this couple that decided to do a 2-day off-site retreat. That's what they're calling it. Sounds very clinical for a marriage retreat. Basically, they got babysitters for their kids. They got an Airbnb in a different city, and they decided to, quote, evolve how their household operates in a way that aligns with their current needs. It feels a little clinical. That's like the right word. I mean, if you're talking about your marriage and how you want to improve things, making it like giving it corporate speak is rubbing people the wrong way, essentially.
I mean, I'm here for it.
Well, yes, but I see what Abby is saying here. Like, if you and I are married and I'm like, hey, you know what? We're struggling here. Let's just get a sitter for the kids. Is your mom available for the kids for the weekend? You and I will go away. We'll do some hiking. We will reset on the things that are causing us some stress. But this right here feels so like formatted and, like you said, clinical.
But when you read the article, they had tried the other things. Like, they had gone to couples therapy, they had done other stuff, but they were still having this disconnect. And it wasn't so much as far as like their relationship, it was how the household ran that was making things difficult for them as far as like with kids and with like just the everyday running of the home. So they needed to be more clinical and formulaic and coming up with a plan like, hey, what works best for you that's not going to drive you crazy? What works best for me that's not going to drive me crazy? So we can make our home as efficient as possible. And then by making our home efficient, we're going to be happier individuals and better for each other.
Now, you're also the person that sat down with your husband and graded some of the things that were going on in your relationship. So I could see how this would appeal to you.
That was not me.
Wasn't that you? Didn't you and Bart give each other grades?
No, that was somebody else on the show.
I was? Okay.
Yeah.
Who? Oh.
Yeah. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
we don't have to make it weird.
No, I know for sure. But I mean, like Bart and I, we have like checked in with each other on stuff, and like what we did was every New Year's Eve.
That's it.
We got together.
I knew there was something there.
Yeah, every New Year's Eve we got together and said, "Hey, so these are 3 things I want for you."
That's right.
For the new year, and he gave me 3 things he wanted for me to better ourselves, which in turn would better the relationship. We had a kid. We haven't done that for years. That got thrown out the window back in 2021.
Right.
The one pro for this, though, that I can see, even though like I'm calling it very clinical and emotionless, is I think sometimes when you just need to make things more productive, you got to take the emotions out so that when you make a criticism of things that your partner does, it doesn't feel quite so personal. It just feels like business.
Exactly. And like just like they really went in as far as like, and that's also their background. Like they're playing to their strong suits and what they do for a living, and being like very organized and logical and methodical in trying to figure this out. And I read it and I was like, I am not mad at this.
I would have a problem with this only because in my relationships, it's very hard to look at it as in a business way. Like in this setting right here, for me, it's a little bit easier, but in my relationships, of course it's going to be personal. And you can't say that this is just a business thing.
I feel the same way. Like I would get to a point in a relationship like that where if we have to do this in order to save ourselves, I don't know that I would be able to like manage in that kind of a place because it just feels like another job, and I wouldn't want my relationship to feel like another job.
I think that's the difference, though, with just a relationship and it being a family. To me, the difference here is the fact that they have kids. I kind of feel like your relationship turns into, I don't know if I want to call it, partnership, like coworkers almost. Like your job is to raise these 2 kids, and I think to some extent, maybe you need a little bit of that structure to make things efficient. Whereas if it's just you 2, then like if you have to go on an offsite retreat, maybe that's a red flag for your relationship.
Use this analogy, guys. It's now a team, all right? So you got to come up with plays that work for the team to make sure you run a good offense and you run a good defense in your home. So right now, the team is like, the chemistry is off. the plays aren't working, you're dropping balls, etc. You got lots of turnovers happening in the home. So what you need to do is, whether you bring in a coach, which is a third party, or the two of you as team captains, go somewhere and sit down and talk about the team, talk about the chemistry, and talk about the plays you need to execute in order to make you have like a national championship worthy team.
It still sounds miserable.
Requesting a trade seems so much easier.
It just does. 100%. Straight.
The Bert Show.